We just took a phone call during our TV-only segment, Rick in Iowa. Do I dare to say Kirk in Iowa? You're on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you? What's up, Coach?
I'm good, Rich. How about yourself?
Good to see you. Pardon me. I'll give you the proper introduction now. 27th year as the head coach of Iowa football. 20th ranked overall going into this big weekend game against Oregon and in front of the home folks here on the Rich Eisen Show. Good to see you, Coach. What's going through your mind before this big game? I know you've been there and done that, but this is a monster game for you and your program in 2025 here, Coach.
Yeah, it's always exciting. Certainly, it's a really intriguing matchup. Oregon's been good for a long time. They're certainly really good right now. Had a great year last year. They've lost 2 games this season and last, so it just tells you the level they've been playing at. They've recruited really well. They've got an excellent football team. A lot of new faces, but they're all playing well. And you get to November, everybody's experienced. They've got a good mix of young guys that have really given them some octane. And it's going to be a big challenge. But that's I think our team's done their part. They've gotten better each and every week. So, we're going to have to be at our absolute best Saturday to have a chance in this one.
And if you don't mind sharing about what you tell your team in a week like this, because, again, you've been around, you've been there, done that, you've played big games, you've won championships. The question I have for you is, do you tell these young kids, hey, we can grab attention here in a way and respect? Do you play that card with your team, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, not really. These guys are in college. They're pretty smart, and they certainly know what's going on. I think they know what's at stake here and what the benefit is of winning a game like this. And we've been fortunate to win a few over the years. So there's certainly a lot of upside involved. And bigger picture is, our goal each and every year is to try to improve each week, see if we can't become a better team, as the season goes on. I think we've done that so far this year. 8 games into it, we're a better team now than we were a month ago. That's for sure. But then, to your point, you get a team like this coming in here. It's a big step up. So we'll have to be at our absolute best. We had a great game here at the end of that first block of games, our five-game block against Indiana. We came up short there in the last 2 minutes. But it's going to be another type of challenge like that, and we'll have to play like we did against Indiana, only a little bit better to be in the ball game against these guys.
All right, I might alienate my radio listeners with this question, Coach, but whose artwork is that over your right shoulder on the cabinet behind you? I have to
That's
ask
my
that.
grandson, Beckett, actually. That's Cooper DeJean up there in an Eagle uniform. So he's a big Cooper DeJean guy.
Okay, it makes sense. So that's Cooper? That's Cooper DeJean over your right shoulder. Okay.
Yeah, as a pro. Yeah.
Okay. And over your left shoulder, I don't know, is that a John Wooden pyramid? I don't know what
it is. Yeah, that's we use different things during the course, and that's probably from 15 years ago. But yeah, during the course of camp and what have you, we usually have some things we'll share with it. And John Wooden's timeless. What a great teacher he was.
Did you ever cross paths with him before his passing at all?
Never had the chance to meet him in person, but certainly remember watching his teams growing up, and then just a big fan of his, reading his books or what have you. And that's one thing about sports, I think, in life in general, but certainly sports, a lot of the lessons you learn and the lessons you can teach, those are really timeless.
Well, I mean, what do you think Wooden came up with that is somewhat groundbreaking that you are using today, or that is part of your coaching acumen, Coach?
Yeah, I don't think there's much that's groundbreaking, quite frankly, in teaching or coaching. But, I mean, one of the first things that starts out, and it's probably more true now than ever, just his, dissertation, on how to put your socks and shoes on, which, as simple as that sounds, I remember coming here 27 years ago, and a big fad at that time in college football was spatting up. And whoever, I can't remember our sponsors shoe-wise, I think it might have been Reebok, doesn't matter. But anyway, they were not happy about guys spatting. And I remember calling Bill Tessendorf, who was our trainer in Cleveland and then Baltimore. Unbelievable guy and just a really wealth of knowledge. I remember calling Tess to ask him about the medical benefits of spatting. And he said outside of the first 3 minutes, really no benefit at all. It's more, for aesthetics and what have you. And, he said, then I'll never forget this. He says, but most guys in the NFL really don't even tie their shoes well. So, hence the spatting might be helpful. And I think that's a good illustration. I mean, you just can't assume anything with players when they come in. You've got to start at the start, and we try to do that each and every year. as we, move forward with our team.
Well, as you know, this day and age, though, you tell that to the wrong player, you might say, I'll go to the portal where a coach doesn't tell me how to tie my shoes. You know what I mean?
But you got to make it their idea. You got to be very careful how you present things nowadays.
Well, I mean, and
kind of like marriage, I mean, you've been
hey,
there.
that's true. No, that's true. How long have you been married? So I should know.
That's a great question. 1979. So
okay, let's not.
We're coming up on 50 here pretty quick.
I didn't mean to give you math on this test. So I guess
that.
Well, that leads me to relationships and how things are changing in the college football world. Kirk Ferentz in his 27th season at Iowa here on the Rich Eisen Show. How did the recent firings of James Franklin and I guess Brian Kelly being another, just two of the bold names in your profession, just a couple win streaks, losing streaks that cost them their jobs, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunately a sad reflection of our the world we're in right now, and we're not going to change it. Certainly, all of us that follow college sports, and I know you do, and you're on a couple different levels, pros and what have you. But I spent 6 years in the NFL. In a lot of ways, we've become the NFL, although. We lack some of the good things the NFL has. Start with the salary cap. Start with, clear enforcement and consistent enforcement of rules and regulations. So we don't do that. But but a lot of the bad things that come with that have crept into our existence, and those are two illustrations. There's more than two. I remember when Coach Helton got fired at Southern Cal a couple of years ago. I believe it was in September, and that kind of struck me as interesting in that. If you had that kind of doubt going into a season, I'm not sure why you'd have a coach in place. To me, those are decisions that typically get made in the offseason. And again, there may have been something under the surface on any of these decisions that, we're not knowledgeable of. But I think it's a really clear message right now for everybody involved in this is you better win, and you better win now, at least at most places. And I've referenced this a million times. I grew up in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm kind of a simple-minded person, I guess. I just look at the basics, and Steelers have been pretty successful for a long time. They've had three coaches since 1969 when Chuck Noll got hired, and I think the impressive thing about that is that their leadership has changed. Obviously, Art Rooney Sr. is no longer alive or running the organization, but despite who's been making the decisions within the Steelers, they've remained true to their philosophy. And outsider looking in, it just seems like. When they run into issues, they don't have a season maybe that lives up to their expectations. They don't panic. They address things and they try to solve problems instead of, just cleaning house. And there's a lot of ways to approach things. I'm not being judgmental, but I guess my lean would be towards that solution. I think that makes more sense, and typically is the best thing for long-term success. But nobody's really thinking about long-term stuff right now. That's not a real popular mode of thinking.
Well, it just seems that it's a little bit, for the lack of a better phrase, Coach, off the rails when a governor of a state says something that leads to a change in an athletic department, and that is born out of a coach being fired potentially because of a tweet that was sent out from the governor's office, and that's just one situation. So I guess my question to you is, what would the fix be? I know you just mentioned how the Steelers run their organization. That's even an outlier in the NFL. Forget about college football as well. And certainly what's going on with you in Iowa is an outlier in college football as well, with 27 years and counting. So what would you
That's kind of sad. I've got three
counsel?
kids in the profession, and I worry about that. Three of my sons are boys. They're all coaching, and I do worry about that. So it's just, there's different ways to look at everything. And I think you touched on something. I think it's really important, and I've noticed that in coaching. Obviously, NIL, revenue share, all that stuff. It's a new world for us. But the biggest thing in my mind that's changed is just, the noise from social media. And, I spend a lot of my time trying to think about, what are our guys hearing, what kind of, and that's always been true in coaching. You worry about what are parents or family members talking to players about. In the old days, it used to be you had to go to a bar, tavern, or a barber shop to, hear all the chatter and, what's wrong in the world, all that stuff. And now, it's accessible to everybody. So it's just a different environment than it used to be that way. Not all it's healthy, unfortunately. A lot of good things on the internet, I'm sure, and social media. But, it just presents a different challenge. And I think that's influenced the way a lot of people think, and including people making decisions on the futures of programs. So, um, I just always go back to Marv Levy. Had a great quote about, if you listen to the people in the stands too much, you're going to be sitting with them. And I think that's if you're in a leadership position, you really need to kind of, bear that in mind.
I don't know if you heard Drake May had all his wise years of 23, 24 years old. He said about what the social media, he says, why would I, receive criticism from somebody I wouldn't take advice from? I heard that. And I'm like, okay, like that sounds reasonable. You know what I mean? Like that's something you should put on a pyramid behind you. You know what I mean?
I do, Rich, and it's something I tell our players all the time. You think about life. I mean, how many people do you really care what they think about you and what you're doing? And fortunately, I think most of us have some people in our life, whether it's parents, mentors, et cetera, that mean a lot to us, and they're, how they view us and how they view the decisions we make. That is important, and but they're not on social media typically. So I've never understood why anybody would even care what somebody you don't know, you've never met, thinks about you, or that type of thing. So, but in the world we're living in right now, it's a pretty powerful pull, and I think you just got to try to be as proactive as you possibly can with the people you work with and the people you care about. Start with your kids at home. It's a really challenging time, I think, to be a parent, to be an educator, certainly a coach, and it's it's just really interesting times right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that front. I only take that sort of stuff from people in my inner circle, and George Kittle. I'll take it from George.
There you go.
You know what I mean? He's
good Iowa guy.
He's like every tight end in the National Football League. It's pretty much.
His story's a good one for sure.
Well, that's for sure. Do you got a good Kittle story? Do you ever have to?
I actually coached his dad. I'm old enough. I coached his dad in 1981. My first year here, he was our left tackle, captain on the team that went from after 19 straight losing seasons.
Yeah.
For Big Ten champions that year, and Bruce was a big part of that. Great football player. But the real reason we offered George was because Bruce's wife Jan was a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal basketball player at Drake, and her and her sister Barb just beat the heck out of Bruce and I once in a 2-on-2 game. I had a whole different level of appreciation for women athletes after that point. But that's where George's athleticism comes from mom, not from dad.
I appreciate you confirmed that for us. Good luck against Oregon. Let's do this again real soon. Thanks for the time, Coach. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.